welcome to the final chapter of Proverbs 31. Today is October 31st, meaning we are getting into the final chapter of Proverbs 31, and I'm so excited to get into it with you. Why? Because it's amazing. Proverbs from 1 through 30 has taught us so much about godly wisdom. It wasn't just about being a woman of God. It was by being a child of God. It has been a complete blessing diving in to the teachings of Solomon and learning good and evil, good and bad, what to do and what not to do. It has been a blessing. It is a play-by-play to allow us to navigate relationships, conversations, decisions, financial decisions. It has been amazing. It has been great. Now, when we come to Proverbs 31, it is literally my favorite chapter in the entire Bible because as a woman, I want to learn how to be a woman of God. I want to learn how to walk like a woman of God, how to act like a woman of God, how to be a mother of the children of God, how to be a wife of my husband who is also going to be a man of God. And I'm just looking forward to diving deeper into today's chapter with you. Now, before I go any further, I don't know if I said this, so let me say it again. If you're interested in any of the resources that I have in today's Bible study, everything that I have is linked in the description box. So I got you. And be sure to comment the verses in chapter 31 that stood out to you. And I'm going to tell you the ones that stood out to me because that's what we do. Period. Now, before I do go any further, I do want to tell you, I do have a podcast, you guys. It's called Becoming P31, and that podcast is special to me because I understand that we all don't wake up and become a Proverbs 31 woman. Our life, things that happen in our life, trauma, circumstances, family, friends, relationship, all these things happen and they shape us and they define us at certain points in our lives. And then we have to go back to square one and say, who did God call me to be? And sometimes it's not easy and that path is hard. And we're navigating that in 2024. Every single day we're navigating, showing up as a woman of God. And the Becoming P31 podcast has allowed me to expand upon what it looks like to become her in 2024. Because we all don't wake up and just be her. It's a process. It's a journey. It is healing mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally. It is a healing journey. And I think that it's important to shed light on that so that when you are at point A, you don't feel bad when you don't see point C in 30 minutes. So I think it's important for us to talk about that. So if you're interested in a podcast about becoming a Proverbs 31 woman, it's available on all podcasting platforms. It's called Becoming P31 with your host, Jazzy Nicole. So now that we got all the information out of the way, let's get into today's video and talk about Proverbs 31 because I am excited to share this with you. Let's get into it. All right. So Proverbs 31 actually starts off when we're talking about King Lemuel. And it's obvious that from chapter 1 through chapter 9, we're talking about King Lemuel, but it's King Lemuel's mama. So it's obvious that the mother is talking to the son in chapters 1 through 9. Now, I've researched a little bit and I got some backstory about King Lemuel. So let me go to my notes. King Lemuel, some people assume that this is actually Solomon. King Lemuel actually being Solomon, if you think about it, is crazy. So what they're saying is that King Lemuel, that is his nickname that his mother actually gave him. So this is adorable. Assuming that historically that's accurate, this would be Solomon's mother telling him information about how to find a godly woman, what she wants him to be a godly man, and what she is asking of him. This is the only king mentioned in the book of Proverbs, which is crazy in itself, right? And it is the only teaching that we find in the Bible that was taught by a woman. Isn't that bananas? It's king, literally. Mama is talking to son. You can already tell how much she loves her dear son. You can tell by the words that she uses and the choices that she uses. She loves her son and she wants the best for her son. What mother wouldn't? That's a good mama. Now, Lemuel can actually be translated into several different words. It could mean God sent, set aside for God. It has several different reasons. And I think that's beautiful that if this is King Solomon's mother talking to her, look at what a beautiful nickname she gave her son. Look at what a beautiful nickname she gave her son. She said, son, you are set aside. Period. Come on, mama. Let's get in quickly to verses 1 through 9 because I am super excited to talk about verses 10 through 31. So let me go to my notes here. For Proverbs chapter 1 through 9, I won't read that verbatim, but let's go into a couple of key points in those verses. So, number one is she's telling her son not to give himself to any woman in a way that would ruin kings. She's trying to protect her son. She's saying, listen, stay away from women that will ruin you. Understandably so. Then she says not to get drunk because it causes bad decisions. She's letting him know, do not get drunk. It causes bad decision making. So stay away from that. Now, 6 through 7, she's saying that only give wine to someone who is bitter or going through a really hard time. That was custom back in the day. That was definitely a custom. And then she's saying give strong medicine to someone who's about to die. So she's saying that in verses 6 and 7. She's reminding her son to stand on justice and to stand up for people who can't speak for themselves. Keep in mind, this is a king. She's telling the king, listen, I need you to remember these core values. Don't be outside with any floozy, okay? Don't be outside doing nothing you're supposed to do. Don't be outside with no woman who ain't of God. She's saying, do not be outside just drinking. Mind yourself. But if you do need to pass out a drink, give a strong drink to someone who is actually suffering if he's about to die. Because she wants to make sure that his death is the least amount of painful as possible. And then she was reminding her son, stand up for the people who can't speak for themselves. You are in a leadership role. You need to be standing up for people who cannot speak for themselves and standing on justice. That's a good mama, period. Now, looking through Proverbs chapter 31, verses 10 through 31, let's think about this in a different way. And I'm going to pull some key points of what a Proverbs 31 woman is from my perspective. But definitely dive into your word. What is God telling you? What is God telling you? Dive into that. So, she is rare. The Proverbs 31 woman is rare. She's a rare woman. She's set aside. She's in the world, but she's not of it. She ain't like them. She's rare. And you can find that in Proverbs 31 verse 10. If you look at Proverbs 31 verse 10, it literally says, who can find a virtuous wife? For her worth is far more than rubies. Rubies are hard to find. And she's worth more than that. Okay? You get it? She's rare. She's a rarity. She's different. She's set apart. She's not like them. Perfect, right? Because Lamel means set apart. So, of course, his wife got to be set apart. A virtuous wife is rare. She's not like the rest of them. If we look at verses 11 through 13, these are talking specifically about how that wife interacts with her husband. She's trustworthy. Her husband trusts her. Not only that, she encourages growth within her husband. When we look at that, for us who are not married, it's a beautiful thing for us because we cultivate relationships by how we are. Are you trustworthy? Are you someone who encourages growth around people around you? Are you someone who encourages people to continue to grow and continue to thrive? Are you someone like that? And when you get it, if you are married, standing on that, being a source of trust for your husband, being someone who encourages him to do good and not evil, beautiful. Now, when I looked at verses 14 through 19, and then verses 21 through 22 and 31, all those together to me stand out as this woman is resourceful. She is prepared. She is not reactive. She is proactive. I mean, let's look at it. But let me look at number 17 with you in the Amplified version, because when I read this, I was like, shut the front door. It says, she equips herself with strength, spiritual, mental, physical fitness for her God-given tasks. She makes her arm strong. Now, this don't mean that you outside and you in the gym and you in LA Fitness and you lifting 85-pound weights on one arm, baby. If you can do that, sis, be great. This doesn't mean we have to do that. But what it is saying is that she's equipping herself for what God is calling her to do. Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Yo, have we been talking about that all of October? Have we not? The glow up season. Focusing on what God is calling you to do and being everything that God is calling you to be. Spiritually sound, physically fit, as physically possibly can, right? Mentally stable. All these things is what it is to be a Proverbs 31 woman. And this is what we know. We know it's a journey. We know it's nothing that happens overnight. You know what I'm saying? We know that it takes time. So we know that we have to work on becoming that and becoming her and work on improving in areas of our life that are struggling so that we can make sure that we are operating in ways that glorify God, in ways that He can use us, that He can use our testimony, that He can use our trials, that He can use everything about it to make sure that we are becoming the woman that He is calling us to be. I love verse 17. Number 4, if we look at verses 22 and 25 to 26, she has a level of strength and humility that cannot be missed. The level of strength and humility that cannot be missed. If we're looking at verses 22, she makes a tapestry of herself, her clothing of fine linen and purple. If we look at that, and then look at verses 25 to 26. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom and her tongue of kindness, period. And let's look at that. Because this is a woman that the Bible is describing that literally dresses herself in honor every day. What comes out of her mouth is wisdom. And we've been talking about that all of October, about using words of wisdom, using our words wisely, making sure that we're speaking life into people and not death, making sure that we're controlling our tongue. Solomon's been saying that the entire book is watching our tongue and making sure we're speaking light and speaking wisdom and speaking honor and being strong and leaning on God. Beautiful. I'm ecstatic. Number 5 is she is a role model. If we look at verses 28 through 29, it says, her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, he praises her. My daughters have done well, but you excel them all. She's a role model. If you think about it, if your children look up to you, if your husband looks at you in admiration, you are a role model. You have worked on yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. You are controlling your tongue. You are dressing yourself literally in honor. You are dressing yourself in honor. You are presenting yourself to this world. You are helpful. You are trustworthy. You are helping those in need. That is a role model. And you know what's crazy is like we live in a society now where people are quick to say, I don't want to be anyone's role model. I don't want to be anyone's standard. But the Bible is calling this virtuous woman, this Proverbs 31 woman, to be that, to be a standard, to be a role model, to be someone that people look to and say, you know what, if she can do it, I know I can do it. I watched how God changed her. I watched how she grew in strength. I watched how she grew mentally, spiritually, emotionally. I've seen the changes in her. It is beautiful. I want to be like that. She's a role model. And then last but definitely not least this is a woman who fears God. This is a woman who fears God. And we talked about the fear of God not being scared of him, but fear of God equals relationship with your Father. Because understanding relationship with God lets you understand that being in relationship with him means I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to lose this. And if we think about it in a relationship stand, human to human, you know, you get a really good, and I'm going to say man, you get a really good man. You guys are dating, you notice that he's a really good guy. And literally, you're like, I don't want to mess this up. This is a good guy. This is a really good guy. I want to grow for myself, but I also want to make sure that I am who I can be for him. When you think about your relationship with your Father, it's very similar, because when you walk into a relationship with God, you don't want to mess it up because he's too good. He is too good. I don't want to walk out of relationship with my Father. So I fear losing him. To me, when I think about losing God or fearing the loss of the relationship with God, I think about every time when I'm reading a book of the Bible, I'm reading a verse in the Bible, and if it says God was no longer with him, oh, that scares me. Not being with God? No, I need God. I need every step of the way. I need him in every aspect of my life. Financially, spiritually, emotionally, physically. I need him in every aspect of my life, because I know what life looks like without my Father. I know exactly what that looks like. And I don't want that. I need my God. I need that relationship. And so this woman that's being discussed in Proverbs 31, if we look at verse 30, it says, charm is deceitful. Beauty is passing, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. She fears the Lord, meaning she has a relationship with God. She's not experiencing God through her husband. She's not experiencing God through her friends. She invested in a relationship with God for herself. She invested in a relationship. She learned his word, because the only way you can learn godly wisdom, like we just discussed, in Proverbs 31:26, only way she can learn the wisdom of God is if she actually was in relationship with God, actually reading his word. There's been times in my life when I thought I knew God, but I wasn't in relationship with him. I knew about him. I didn't have a relationship with him. But now that I'm developing that relationship with God, and that he speaks to me, and he ministers to me, and he talks to me, and he tells me what to do, and he guides my footsteps. Now that I have that relationship with God, I fear losing that. Because honestly, you can take anything away from you want to. Baby, I ain't gonna be this cute forever. Because charm is deceitful, beauty is fading, but a woman who serves the Lord, a woman who fears the Lord, a woman who's in relationship with the Lord shall be praised. Period. I love that for us. And I love it that we spent 31 days learning godly wisdom. We spent 31 days being intentional about every single day showing up for ourselves and our Father. We spent every single day learning godly wisdom, taking notes from King Solomon, baby. And I love how we ended it with King Solomon's mama sharing the tea. I love every bit of it. Let me know in the comment section what verses stood out to you, and I'll tell you which one stood out to me. And I will talk to you later in another Bible study, but great job reading Proverbs all the way through. You did a phenomenal job, and I'll see you later. Bye.